The topics that this committee are discussing are of enormous importance. I want to speak briefly to the substance, and also I want to speak about this leak that occurred. On the substance, I don't know what the final opinion of the court will be. If the final opinion of the court is anything like the draft of Justice Alito's opinion that was leaked, in my judgment, that opinion is a masterful opinion. It is correct. Roe versus Wade was wrong the day it was decided, and it's been wrong every day since then. I find it interesting that Democrat senators on this committee are astonished that justices would vote to overturn Roe. They're not astonished that every Democrat-appointed justice votes to continue Roe. Nobody on this committee has a moment of doubt as to how Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson would vote were she voting on this case. And it is interesting that many Democrats have decried this decision as a, quote, assault on democracy, because this decision is, if this is the decision of the court, is precisely the opposite. It is a victory for democracy. Part of the reason Democrats get so upset about this in Washington is the view of elected Democrats in the United States Senate on abortion is wildly out of the mainstream. The view of elected Democrats in this body is they support unlimited abortion on demand up until the moment of birth, with taxpayer funding and without parental consent or notification. That is a radical and extreme position. When asked if they support abortion on demand up until the instant of birth, only 6% of Americans say they agree with that position, yet that is the position of elected Democrats in this body. And so, when the matter comes to a vote, the people vote differently than Democrats in this body want them to vote. If Roe versus Wade is in fact overturned, it will not mean that abortion is illegal across this country. It will mean that we will return to the way the Constitution operated for the first 185 years of our nation's history, which is that the state legislatures have the primary authority to decide what happens. That will mean bright blue states like California, like New York, at least in the short term, presumably will continue with unlimited abortions. But it will mean redder states like my home state of Texas will adopt meaningful restrictions, and those laws will reflect the values and mores of their citizens. We have 50 states with Americans with very different views on this topic, and every Democrat who expresses outrage at the substance is saying those pesky voters have no right to have laws that reflect their values. Instead, they should be governed by 9 lawyers, unelected, but wearing black robes. If this decision is what's reflected in that draft, it is an incredible vindication of democracy, because it's saying we the people can decide matters of utmost importance. Now let me turn briefly to the leak. This leak is the most egregious violation of trust at the Supreme Court in the history of our nation. It has never happened, even once, that a draft opinion leaks from the court before it issues in over 200 years of our nation's history. It undermines the independence of the judiciary, it undermines the integrity of the court, and it undermines the rule of law. It is difficult to describe, particularly to those who have not worked at the court or practiced before the court, the level, the magnitude of breach of trust that this leak represents. I fear for the court's ability to continue to function as it was designed to function if justices cannot circulate opinions and have deliberation and have discussions. The way the Supreme Court works, an initial opinion circulates, but there are hundreds and sometimes thousands of changes as the justices negotiate back and forth, sometimes sentence by sentence, paragraph by paragraph, footnote by footnote, having discussions back and forth and reaching a final decision. If that process can be circumvented by one unethical criminal law clerk, and I think the odds are overwhelming this was a law clerk who handed this over to a reporter, it does possibly permanent damage to the Supreme Court. And that decision to leak this opinion and to try to put political pressure on the court is the predictable culmination of a multi-year effort by Senate Democrats to demonize and politicize the court. As Senator Cornyn observed, Chuck Schumer stood on the steps of the Supreme Court in a direct effort to try to intimidate the justices of the court. The words he said, quote, "I want to tell you Gorsuch, I want to tell you Kavanaugh, you have released the whirlwind and you will pay the price. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions." A direct threat to individual justices: vote the way I want you to, or you won't know what hit you. By the way, that same effort of intimidation was also reflected in a brief filed by Senator Whitehouse and others that stated, quote, "Perhaps the court can heal itself before the public demands it be restructured in order to reduce the influence of politics." Those threats have manifested in multiple Senate Democrats threatening to pack the court, to add 4 new left-wing justices and increase it from 9 justices to 13 justices. And that bullying campaign also was reflected in the Arabella advisors, the left-wing dark money outfit created to fight judicial battles, who led a shameful bullying campaign against Justice Breyer, including hiring a mobile billboard truck to urge him to retire. And let me finally point out that this leak, which follows that tradition of it's all politics, the ends justify the means, and the obligation that a clerk owes to his or her justice doesn't matter. When this leak occurred, the same left-wing activists who are funded by left-wing billionaires who have been leading this fight, they praised the leak. Brian Fallon, who's the executive director of Demand Justice, this left-wing outfit that engages in this, and by the way, a former aide to Chuck Schumer, Brian Fallon tweeted the following, quote, "SCOTUS leaks are good. Elite lawyers on both the left and the right, treating the court as precious all these years, have just been giving the cover to an institution that is wholly unaccountable. Rip the veil off." That's what their activists are calling. Another individual named Ian Millhauser, I don't know, but he's another left-wing activist, tweeted the following, quote, "Seriously, shout out to whoever the hero was within the Supreme Court who said, F it." And by the way, he didn't abbreviate F. F it, let's burn this place down. That's what the radicals on the left are calling for. Burn this place down, the Supreme Court, destroying the institutions that protect our nation. This is a sad day, and it is the culmination of deliberate decisions by elected Democrats.
Thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to our channel. And while you're at it, please leave us a comment. Thank you for watching.